All right, Dave Cokin's here. Cofield, DC and the Sunshine Man late night podcast on a Thursday night. Lucky enough to follow up a game worth discussing. A lot of debate was going on social media throughout the game, but the Chiefs win it, Dave, and the game goes over. The Chiefs cover in overtime, which I know was a living hell for you last weekend in the NFL. You know, touchdowns instead of field goals. There's a lot to unpack here. Where do you want to start?
Well, I mean, it was fun. Look, I'm a believer in analytics. But there are situations where I'll go against the percentages. And at the end of the first half was one of those. Because part of the reason that first of all, the percentages say to go for it. But a big part of the reason that you do go for it on fourth down is if you don't get there, okay, well, the other team takes the ball over at the 1 yard line or 5 yard line or whatever.
Right.
But it was the last play of the half. So you don't get that aspect of the equation. I would have taken the 3 points.
Right.
And I know there's going to be some people who say, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You might be right, but I would have taken the 3 points. I'm not second guessing him because had I had immediate access to the team stats in terms of fourth down conversions for the Chargers and fourth down stops for the Chiefs defense, I probably would have said, okay, well, let's go for it anyway.
Right.
Because the Chargers have been a very good fourth down conversion team, and the Chiefs aren't real good at stopping it. But my first impulse, without looking at those stats, was just the flow of the game. I got to get 3 points here. Can't go into the dressing room with 2 first and goals at the 5 and 0 points, and the Chiefs getting the ball first out of the half. So I disagreed with the decision, and yeah, who knows what happens in the second half?
Right.
There's no way to say that it would have gone this way it did, but in the end, those 3 points kind of would have come in handy.
But overall,
one that aggravated me more.
Yeah, keep going.
You've got a guy who's approximately the same size as Tom Brady, a little bigger, actually, certainly more athletic. Sneak the ball. You got second and goal at the 1 yard line. Sneak it twice. You're going to score. Instead, they give it to the little running back who tries to extend on a play where he had no chance to get to the end zone and fumbles the football. I mean, the Chargers gave the game away. They've been doing that for years.
Yeah. And defensively, they gassed at the end, because the tackling was terrible on those 2 big plays by Travis Kelce. And also, before I even make the point, I'm glad he actually nailed this one. It's funny, as I watched the game with Troy Aikman on it, I actually texted someone else, and I was like, my God, this is such a good game. And Aikman is like, he just says nothing of a technical standpoint, which I guess is fine. I mean, that's for the general audience. But I was just thinking, there's so much going on here with both quarterbacks and what they're seeing and what they're having to face on defense. Like, I would love for him to break things down. But anyway, the reason I mentioned it is that late in the game, he did have a couple of good points, or at least a producer called it in. The big running play by Mahomes was simply a tired and sort of lazy or losing discipline Joey Bosa. And it's like those little things, dude, you that's your area. That's your alley. When you're spinning like a maniac and running past a quarterback and there's literally 40 yards open down the field, that's on you, bro. And it's tiny things like that. The defense just wasn't. Down the stretch, their tackling was terrible.
I mean, 32-yard run at that point in the game, you can't allow that. And they'd gotten a big break because Mahomes missed on a fourth down when the ball just basically slipped out of his hand, obviously, and went straight into the ground. He had a guy wide open. I mean, Chargers, they're in control of the division with a win because they would have swept the season series and would be tied with 3 games left. Now, they got their work cut out to make the playoffs. And Kansas City will win the division now.
Should not be the case. I mean, I think I'm saying they shouldn't be in the position, especially with KC only sitting there at 9-4, but be in the position where they're now going to have to fight and claw for the wild card. And the sad thing was they really were the better. You get that many opportunities inside the 5-yard line. They really were the better team for 3+ quarters.
Well, but again, it comes down to a couple of things. And the big one for me, more than what happened at the end of the half, it just drives me nuts when coaches decide, I'm going to show you something. I'm going to go my bag of tricks. Meanwhile, Tampa Bay and New England previously, 4th and 1. You know what they're going to do,
Right.
and they just do it.
Yep.
You mean to say you can't do the same thing with this guy quarterback? Of course you can.
Well, we'll see if he learns his lesson. I mean, I just heard you say it, and a lot of the people saying it on social media after the game. Same old Chargers. Like, it just feels like it's always going to be this way. It's not going to be, because I think Staley will get better. And you know what? When you have a guy like Herbert, he just
oh my God, what an arm!
Lifts you out of certain situations. I mean, yeah, his arm and even how about the size of him? He's like an athletic Big Ben. You know how many times Big Ben held off a tackler to be able to throw the ball, even just throwing it away. Herbert did that like 3 times tonight, where he just dwarfs guys and he's like holding off. I think it might have been Hitchens or Bolden who came in, but he's just holding him off just enough so he can freaking throw the ball. It's nuts. And the guy even grabbed his shoulder pad.
Adam, what are you talking about?
Oh,
it's the easiest play in football. There is no easier play. You snap the ball and you run behind the center. You're only trying to gain a foot or two. Okay? There is no easier play if you've got a big quarterback. And Brady, the guy's in his mid-40s, for crying out loud. He's not athletic at this point. I'm sorry, you're just wrong. Okay? There are some things that are not opinion, they're just fact. Quarterback sneak is one of the simplest plays in football if you've got the quarterback under center. Right. Snap it and push forward. That's it. Now, if you've got somebody the size of Lamar Jackson, it might not be easy to quarterback sneak because he's not a big guy, or the kid at Arizona, who's a great player. It's different. But when you've got a guy who's, what is he, 6'5" and 230?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I'm sorry. All he's got to do is fall forward twice, and he's going to gain a yard. I think he has the ability to leap. If Tom Brady can leap 6 inches, that's probably about his vertical leap at this point, and score every friggin' time or get the first down almost every time, don't tell me that this guy can't do it.
So back to the overall theme of new age football, because social media is exploding tonight with, the fans of analytics. I would say the fans of facts are going at the people who are saying, hey, results based, this is what happened. They lost with the wrong move.
Well, that's going to happen sometimes. I mean, look, I watch a ton of baseball. There are players that you put the shift on for. Every once in a while, guy swings late or something like that, or he just drops down a bunt and it doesn't work.
That is a good point. But when that happens, it's so absurd that I think even the negative analytics people aren't going to sit there and scream that it was a mistake. By the way, I don't believe that the people who are gut feeling and anti-analytics, I don't think they realize the shift is analytics.
Oh yeah.
Right.
100%.
And in fact, it is the results are so effective from those analytics that people now cry basically that you have to outlaw analytic-based moves.
Right.
So, like in that case, you're like, fuck, we're so wrong. Ban it. That is crazy. Which, by the way, they should never ban it. There's no way to police it. They should never ban it.
No, it's part of the strategy of the game.
Learn how to hit, adjust your game, be able to hit the other way. Don't hit it in the same patterns all the time.
Well, David Ortiz was a dead pull hitter. Okay, so they put the shift on him all the time. And Ortiz would occasionally go up there and just drop a bunt down. Okay, here, I'll take first base. Now, he wasn't going to do it and run in RBI situations because his job was to drive in runs. But leading off an inning, he did it more than a few times. It's like, okay, going to give me first base, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And there's a handful of players who, and this is why I think that all baseball players should work on their bunting, because if they're just going to give you a single and there's nobody out to start the inning,
right,
take it.
Yeah. So I think going back to your point about the quarterback sneak, a lot of people want to give Brady credit rather than just say it's a super easy play. That you have to be good at it.
Well, you practice it.
Right. Well, Herbert looked fine. He snuck it once in the game. He looked fine on that one, and he looked all of his 6'5" and 230.
When you've got a big quarterback and also an athletic quarterback on top of that, to me, it's just a no-brainer.
Why are you going to shotgun? Why are you doing a under center handoff? All that delayed time. If you have a guy that big, and Cam Newton's another example. I mean, you're not gonna run Cam Newton. Come on.
Now, let's examine Brady for a moment. Now, Brady is the best quarterback of all time, but he's not the best quarterback of all time because he's good at the quarterback sneak. It's because he's completed more passes than anybody, more touchdown passes, et cetera, et cetera. But here's a little part of the game that for 20 years now, they've run over and over and over again with Brady. They did it with Belichick, and they do it with Bruce Arians. And it just comes down to, and this is just the way I feel about it, sometimes you just keep it simple, stupid. They know the other team knows it's coming, and they still can't stop it. With a big quarterback, unless he's got no athletic ability at all, if it's Mike Glennon, okay, maybe you better not run the quarterback sneak because he's not, he might get blasted at the line and end up losing 2 yards. But I'm sorry, this guy is huge, Herbert. He's 6'6" or 6'7". Look, I can't coach football, but sometimes I'm able to look at something and just realize, well, if they're doing it with the 45-year-old, then I think you can do the same thing with a 25-year-old who's in better shape.
Hey, one more thing on the analytics. Going back to last weekend, did you see the exchange? Well, John Harbaugh went for 2. Explained it, and then Phil Simms and Bill Cowher were like really mad again about the analytics and going for 2. So there was another analytics.
No, well, but they were wrong.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Right.
But percentage-wise, it was the right decision.
Yeah.
And with that quarterback on the field, it's even more of a right decision. Okay, it's not if it's Jared Goff, maybe you just take the extra point.
Right.
It's Lamar Jackson. Okay, or was it Huntley at that point? I don't remember.
Was Huntley at that point?
Okay. Well, Huntley's a pretty good athlete.
Yeah.
I'm taking my chances there and going for the 2.
Let me see if I can play what Simms actually said, and it's kind of just he was getting all crazy, and everyone kind of caught him at the end, like he doesn't know and he doesn't care. It's coming up here.
I want to see the analytics people come up and do the interview after the game. Tell me why you did it. Let me hear that explanation. It changes when you're down 2 scores. The other team, as you said, Bill, they change their play calling and how they direct the game. So we don't put that into the analytics. Yes. I don't think. I don't know. I don't care. I want to see.
We don't put that into the analytics. I don't think. I don't care. Okay, well then we're back to square one. You don't care about analytics and you're unwilling to learn. But that was he was saying going for 2 too early in the game could actually be a disadvantage to you because the other team could have, I guess, a bigger sense of urgency. Like you're controlling what you can control.
It's possible because nothing works all the time.
Right.
But percentage-wise, it works more often than it is to your advantage. It's just, this is why, we'll go back to baseball for a while. I don't know how many years and how many times I would rail. You would talk about Mount Cokin, the bunt, the sacrifice bunt, which I've hated for years because percentage-wise, the only time it's to your advantage to bunt is if it's a tie game, you're up last, and you're trying to score 1 run. Okay, that gives you a slight advantage, a very slight advantage to get the runner over to second base. In any other situation, it's counterproductive. It's now, unless the pitcher's up, and we won't have to worry about that starting next season because the DH is going to be universal. Or if it's Martin Maldonado or something, all right, let's get an extra base out of him because he can't hit. But in almost every other situation, the bunt is a terrible idea. Terrible. And you got 40 years of data to prove it. Finally, over the last 2 or 3 seasons, managers have started to figure it out, and they bunt a lot less than they used to. Gene Mork when he managed, anytime he got a runner on first, he was going to bunt him to second base. No wonder Gene Mark never won a World Series.
Yeah.
Earl Weaver, by the way, never bunted. He was so far ahead of the curve.
Right.
Analytics didn't even exist when Earl Weaver managed. He hated the bunt with a passion. He said, his strategy was to go for the 3-run homer.
Yep. He's like the
kinda,
original.
Kinda worked.
Even though they weren't employing the launch angle, he was kind of the thought that he was like the original launch angle guy.
Yeah, and he understood. He understood that you only get 3 outs an inning. Giving away one of them is generally not a real good idea. Okay.
How hard? Old school guy. So let's say he was a little bit forward thinking. How hard do you think it would have been for them to come to grips with being a punch and Judy guy who hits, 310, but it's mostly singles, may not be as valuable as a guy who hits 230, hits a bunch of bombs, and does walk a decent amount, but just hits 230.
They didn't understand it. That's one of the things that Billy Beane kind of revolutionized things, because the whole idea is we got to get on base.
On base. Yeah.
Take your walks.
Right.
Walks help. Okay. And you go back to the beginning of this century with a really ordinary team, mostly of cast-offs and a great pitching staff. They had that, which gets overlooked in the book, which is the one thing I've always found fault with in Michael Lewis's book, is that he kind of ignored the fact that they had 3 really good starting pitchers.
We were just laughing about that last night about the movie and how we were talking about sports movies that were a little bit unrealistic. And it's like, yeah, no Barry Zito, no Tim Hudson, no Mark Mulder mentioned.
Yeah.
Okay.
And the guy who's not featured at all, I think he's got one clip in the movie, is Tejada, who was the best player on the team. So,
yeah, that's a good point.
It was romanticized, but the concept was brilliant. And as a result, Oakland, which truly is a small market team and always has been until they move, was able to contend on an annual basis. And the old school guy, Art Howe, didn't get it. Just couldn't figure it out. It just didn't sink in. I think that's the issue with Phil Simms and Bill Cowher. Now, Cowher was a great coach in his day, but the game has changed, and the analysis has changed. And the guy who put the quote up on Ned Yost, same thing here. Used to drive me absolutely bananas. He got away with it. Got to give him credit. Got to the World Series twice and won it once. But I kind of looked at it and said they won in spite of what Yost was doing.
Yeah, this was part 2 of that convo with Simms, and then here's where I think JB was trying to come in and pat him on the back, and Cowers at the end.
Before we leave that point, I would love to see, that's a great idea, to have somebody who is in charge of the analytics.
Yeah.
To have that conversation afterwards to talk about the other aspects of the game.
No, here it is. Here's the whole thing. Well, analytics told me to do it. Yeah. All right, next question. That's what we see.
Yeah, they'll show you a spreadsheet. And
there's never any explanation of why all these things that can happen. So
paralysis by analysis. We overanalyze things. It's not that hard.
We overanalyze things. It's not that hard. You do have to analyze a lot more, Bill.
He got it dead wrong, because this is actually not overanalyzing things.
Right, that's a good point.
You're just putting the odds in your favor.
Here it is. Okay, yes.
Here's the factual data.
Yep.
Go ahead and argue with factual data. It's basically like, I know 2 and 2 equals 4. You might think it equals 5, but it doesn't. It equals 4.
Well, the great thing on this is Phil Simms says when you ask analytics people to explain, talk to analytics people, Phil. Like they're acting like, Burleson's like 30 years younger than all these guys, but he went to Reno. It's backing them up with like they're going to pull out a spreadsheet like it's a nerdy thing. No, they're just going to give you an explanation. Again, we talk about this all the time. If Phil Simms sat down with Eric Eager from Pro Football Focus, Eric would explain it to him, right?
Yep.
I don't think Phil could understand. And again, not to take a shot at the guy, but he is not a very learned individual. He did have a 10 on the Wonderlic. Sorry to be mean, but he doesn't seem to be very interested in learning and advancing. But I guarantee you, Eager would explain it a couple of times, and then Phil Simms would probably go to this mode and be like, well, I played the game, and there's a feel like, so did Eric Eager. He didn't play in the NFL. He played tight end in college, which, again, to go back to PFF, PFF is strongly backed by Chris Collinsworth, who played. But Chris is in the know. Chris gets it. And much of the crew at PFF, Dave, played the game. But they love numbers. They're next level genius. You know, they weren't these guys were not the 10 or 12 or 14 guys on Wonderlic. They were not.
Two best coaches in the history of the NFL would arguably be Vince Lombardi and Bill Belichick. Neither one of them ever played down in the NFL.
Yeah.
Vince Lombardi was like 5'6". Okay. Belichick played college football. But you're gonna tell me anybody knows more than he does?
Right.
He's at it again, by the way.
Oh, we know.
They might be
Aware.
in the Super
Yep.
Bowl.
I'm well aware. I don't know how this is happening. Well, it's happening. I guess in not to sound like we're it's against analytics. He is playing an old school brand of football, and he's also taking advantage of matchups. I mean, the Buffalo Bills plan, if Sean McDermott's not going to do anything different, and they're not going to dare Mac Jones to throw the ball, then Belichick will run it 32 times in a row. It was brilliant,
including on 4th down. Didn't punt the ball. No, we
by
can
the
get
way,
a yard. We can get a yard here.
Which, by the way, are those analytics or not? Yes.
Sure. And
So
by the way,
when Belichick wins, no one's like, see, there's the analytics guy, but he's coupling it with running the right plays. And sometimes
Right.
Brandon Staley's play calling is a bit in question.
now, and if you want to, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think Mac Jones has run the quarterback sneak a few times this year to get a yard.
It is funny. Belichick, it's like we forget that he really is one of the leaders of the analytics crowd.
Sure.
I mean, he still made one of the crazier moves. What the hell was the situation? Was it against the Colts when he went for it on like a short 4th down at his own 20 or 21 yard line, something like that?
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah.
And he got roundly criticized because it didn't work out.
Yep. He got killed. And he said at that point, my defense was dead.
Yep.
Didn't think they were going to get it done, and we were not going to. You give the ball back to the guy. The guy. Here's the percentages with Peyton Manning. That's interesting. All right, power rankings and numbers. Let's talk about COVID in these 3 games with heavy COVID losses on one side. Have they just gone? Have they over-adjusted? Or have they made the game unbettable? What do you think?
I think who's playing.
So football teams against
the analytics. The analytics are for strategy within the game. They don't have anything to do with how the line's made.
Right.
Next.
But how do they?
Milt Plum. Is Milt Plum playing quarterback for the Browns this weekend? They're down to, I don't know, Brian Sipe or something.
Milt Plum. Good reference.
So, I mean, the Raiders, who at this point are completely broken, are now pretty big favorites on the road. And being on the road is actually a good thing for the Raiders.
It seems like.
We discussed that on Monday. Right now, the city has turned against the Raiders. And we're talking about this on the Wager Talk Today show this morning. We do it at 9:00. And Ted Savransky I'm not sure how old his kid is now. I think he's like 12, something like that. And the elementary and junior high kids, they couldn't care less about the Raiders. They're all into the Golden Knights. How you sell yourself in town, in the city that you call home, is really important. And this Raiders team right now has a home field disadvantage. They're better off going on the road. That's the number one in the offseason. Fix your image. Might have worked in Oakland. Ain't going to work here.
No, and it's gonna take winning. I don't know if I don't know if the team's going to need to be wholesome or not. I do know, as you explained, there are a lot of people out there who thought the way the Ruggs thing was embarrassing.
I'm sorry, but I don't know Derek Carr personally. I think he's a very nice guy, genuine in his faith, good quarterback. When he tweeted what he tweeted, he alienated about 500,000 people in this city. It's like, you want to show love for your teammate. Don't do it on Twitter after he just killed a 23-year-old girl and a dog. Bad idea. Really bad idea. As dumb as it gets idea. And you're the face of the team. And I'm telling you, you ask around. For those who are listening right now in Las Vegas, you know what I'm right. For those who are listening out of town, believe me, this is the way it is. They turned off so many people with the response that they had. They should have condemned the guy. That would have gone over a lot better. And then 3 days later, or whatever it is, Arnett, another one of their wonderful draft choices, is on Instagram sporting weapons and saying he's going to kill somebody. Better start doing some character checks with the guys you draft. And Ruggs, I'm sorry. If I'm being an asshole, so be it. But I got on Ruggs' case last year for leaving a $10 tip on a $600 tab. I didn't even mention his name, and he gets into an argument with me on Twitter and says it wasn't him. If I never mention your name, then why are you tweeting at me?
Why do you care?
Okay.
Caught.
And have subsequently heard from you and some others that this wasn't the first time he was driving like a maniac.
No. The Raiders knew about it. He did it around the facility. Yep. So the Raiders knew about it. Players knew about it. PR people knew about it.
And I'm sorry, they completely mishandled it after it happened. You want to show sympathy. Show sympathy for the girl, her family, which has to be devastated, and not for Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs his name should never be mentioned again. Okay, he's done here. Hopefully, I'm sorry, but hopefully he's going to be in prison for a long time. He deserves to be, in my opinion. He's got good attorneys. Maybe they can get it down, and he's entitled to a fair trial like anybody else. But you cut all ties with him, and don't tweet your support of him. Jesus.
Right. I don't know if we talked about it. I don't think so, because the story came out last Friday. Did you see the story that the RJ did with one of the Raiders super fans who said he was really unhappy with the makeup of the crowd? The Violators not happy.
I did see that. Yeah.
With how Vegas is, handling its business with the tickets and being loud enough, and I immediately thought of what your rant, that a lot of people are turned off by the Raiders. And I wonder if someone explained to the Violator, bro, I know that, the football season kind of just erases everything that goes on in prior weeks, but your coach turned out to be this person who wants to be super exclusive, racist, freaking, anti-female, homophobic. That turned off a lot of people. And then one of your players killed one of
not just kill. I mean, it wasn't just killed. Had it been, an unfortunate accident, it's not an accident when you're driving 125, 150 miles an hour on a city street. You're trying to kill. In my opinion, you're trying to kill either yourself or somebody else. Right. Unfortunately, he succeeded only in killing somebody else.
And then you've got the super fan. It's like, how come Vegas is jumping on board, dude? Is that a simple enough explanation for you? There are people here who are not going to warm to the Raiders very easily. They might have another team, and then the behavior off the field and around the team for the last couple of years, it's a freaking turnoff. I didn't even bring up Arnett.
And
there's also, Dave, this too. There's also a hangover with a good group of people who are like, I don't like the way the stadium was funded.
That's true. Also, they had a tough act to follow because you got a hockey team that comes out here, and the most visible guy on the team is Marc-Andre Fleury. And what do you get the very first year? Pictures and videos. Marc-Andre Fleury in his whatever neighborhood he lived in, he's playing street hockey with the kids in the neighborhood. You want to build a positive image? The players showed up at everything. Whatever charitable event was going on, pet adoption, stuff like that, somebody was there from the team. That's how you cultivate an image in town. Yep. And stay out of trouble. Don't do stupid shit. Okay?
And you win. And
you got to win.
No, I'm saying this is the example set by the Knights is they win, they don't win at all, so you have to get better. And you keep driving, and there seems to be everyone's aligned, from top to bottom. Bill Foley may not have been happy about the Fleury thing, but, they got their way, and those guys are pretty much machines, and maybe they're a little bit cold-hearted with the players, but the Knights are going to do everything. The Knights are going to do everything they can to win, and the Raiders come to town with a lot of losing behind them and a lot of dysfunction since they've been here.
Which they got away with in the Al Davis era because it was kind of cool. These were the Mavericks of the NFL. Right. They played in Oakland, a real tough town. That's 40 years ago, guys. Okay? Times have changed. And this isn't Oakland. No offense to Oakland, but this is Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. You got to be a little more sophisticated here. Yep. It's not a hick town anymore. Okay? When I moved here, There was, I don't know, 40,000 people, and everybody knew everybody, and nobody paid for anything. And I was driving a Cadillac convertible, and I used to leave the top down when I went to the Castaways. Nobody was going to steal anything out of the car.
Right.
It was kind of a hick town.
Mm-hmm.
It's not anymore. It's. I don't think it's the gambling capital of the world anymore. It's quickly becoming the entertainment capital of the world, though.
Yep.
And you better be sharp. Okay? You better be sharp. And the Raiders right now they're looking, quite frankly, like a bunch of hicks that came in here and can't handle the big city.
Haven't heard someone say it that way, but yeah. And to your point about Oakland, people have a lot of options here, man.
Yeah.
They want to be entertained and they want to feel like they won something. And the Raiders have been embarrassing lately on the field and often around the field. They've been super embarrassing. So, and the other thing, Dave, is for the Raiders fans, like this guy, the Violator, who thought, "Hey, Raiders are going to come here. We're going to instantly support them." We could use the NFL here, but like football fans on the ground here didn't need an NFL team. We all had our own team.
Yeah.
So it is the most rare market to move into. You weren't automatically going to win over everyone here to drop their freaking team. And like Dave said, the most important thing is to cultivate a young fan base. Well, you haven't even had time yet.
Right. And they are not cultivating the young fan base. That's what Teddy was talking about with his son. They're all Golden. I mean, at his school, they're all Golden Knights fans.
Yeah.
They're all into the Golden Knights. The Raiders couldn't care less.
That's crazy. Well, hopefully they get it together. I will say,
I want them to succeed. I'm not rooting against them.
Yeah.
I would love to see the Raiders bring a Super Bowl championship to Las Vegas. Be awesome. But I think Mark Davis is going to have to take a long look at the way the team is assembled. And, he seems to be a nice guy. I hope he's able to figure it out and stop making dumb decisions, okay? Because right now, the only guy he's ahead of is the guy in Jacksonville,
right?
Who basically everybody said, you're making a mistake hiring Urban Meyer.
Mm-hmm.
And a little more than halfway through season number 1, Urban Meyer has to be fired.
Yeah. Worth almost $10 billion. And not an expert in football, but wouldn't listen to lots of other people telling him, hey, man, this might be a bad move. Nah.
By the way, did you see just to show you, I found this hilarious. As soon as the announcement came down that Meyer had been fired, the line on this weekend's game for Jacksonville went up like 1.5 points.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, well, people are looking at it and say, oh, he's gone. The players are going to love it. They'll go out and play well. And now they're 4.5, 5-point favorites. And you know what? I happen to agree with that sentiment. They might play the best game of the season. I got to tell you, I think that the young quarterback, his comments weren't really veiled at all. I don't think he could stand Meyer. And he'll probably be very happy to see him gone.
Yeah, it's 5.5. It's 5.5 in one book.
That might be. You think he's ever going to get another coaching job? Because now there's so much baggage that I think a lot of the big schools will. He's certainly not going to coach again in the NFL. I don't know that the big schools are going to go after him like they had gone after him in the past.
Yeah,
he's kind of buried himself this year. I mean, the thing after the game in Detroit.
Yep.
Where the whole team leaves, but he stays behind and then gets photographed in a bar with a couple of chicks. And then now this thing comes out with the kicker. And absolutely, I do believe it. You've talked to the guys when he had incidences down in the Sunshine State.
Yep.
And at that time, he was winning so much, he got away with it. But this isn't something new for him.
Right. I think the bigger question with him is, does he want to coach again? Because now we're hearing more and more stories where he really wasn't even working in Jacksonville. Like he was kind of disassociated with the team. He didn't know who was playing, who wasn't. Like, does he really care enough to freaking run a college football program anymore?
I think the assistants were basically doing all the work.
Right.
And
you're saying, wait, in the past or with Jacksonville?
No, with Jacksonville. And again, I'm not there, but the reports were that the coaching staff wasn't just the players who couldn't stand Meyer. The coaching staff couldn't stand
Right.
Meyer either. These are the guys he hired.
He's belittling them, blaming them for poor play. It's just, I don't know, no way to manage. So, it's funny. The other thing with Urban Meyer is I don't know that he's going to change because of his support group. Like, they just back him up. So they just enable. How about this comment? Someone writes, it's so funny how the only players Urban Meyer mistreats are ones that are fucking awful. Does he mistreat bad players, or are the bad players disgruntled and embellish reality? He kicked the kicker, 5 out of 10. Tell him not to be such a pussy and laugh a little. That was from one Zach Smith, who, of course, is the asshole, overly aggressive dude with women, coward, as many of us would call him. Yeah, that was the guy that Urban Meyer protected and shielded for years and years and years. He's calling other people pussies, so awesome. But he's got Urb's back, so hopefully it all works out for you guys. Stupid. Really.
Yeah, if you think it's tough being a Chargers or a Lions fan, might even be worse being a Jaguars fan. I mean, boy, well, no, it can't be worse than the Lions. That's got to be the toughest gig in sports is being a Lions fan.
Jets is pretty bad. It's not as bad as the Lions.
The Jets go in every season with hopes that something good is going to happen, and then it doesn't. They just keep making the same mistakes because of all the quarterbacks drafted. I think it's fair. And look, that doesn't mean he's not going to become good down the road, but Wilson looks like he's the weakest of the bunch by a pretty good margin.
Yep.
I think
Not
Trey Lance is going to learn how to play, and this might actually be a blessing in disguise that he's got a little dinged up and has to watch this year. Lawrence should be fine. Jones already is. Wilson hasn't figured things out. But again, he's only a rookie. But you do kind of get an idea right off the bat. It's kind of like Daniel Jones, the other quarterback who calls that stadium home. I think from day one, people said, I don't know. And he really hasn't gotten any better. Trubisky turned out to be a backup. You kind of saw it in the first year. It's like, and he's a backup. It's half a season in, and he missed a couple of games. But Wilson kind of looks like a backup to me.
Yeah. So did you say you were going to play any of the sides in these COVID-affected games in the NFL? Right now, it's Vegas -4 against Cleveland. Philly
I did play one.
What's that?
I did play. I took the Dolphins,
Dolphins?
and they've got a few issues. But again, they're playing the Jets, and they're red hot right now. So I'll take my chances on that. I think the Rams. Did I read right? The Rams have 22 guys.
Yep.
22 guys. Oh my God.
Yeah, and the number's 4 now. It's Rams 4.
And this is bad news. Really bad news. I don't follow soccer, but apparently the English league is considering shutting down until January 8th.
Yep.
That's not good.
I know. I said it today on the air. I was like, folks, we are headed for a sucky month at a minimum in sports. It'll kind of be a flashback because I don't know if you saw it, but Vegas was hosting at T-Mobile, UCLA, North Carolina, Ohio State, Kentucky. So Ohio State, Kentucky is down, and now UCLA has Mick Cronin and COVID protocol, and UCLA had to cancel a game last night. So the whole freaking thing may go by the wayside.
You see Patino's tweet?
No.
Well, Iona's supposed to play Seton Hall at Madison Square Garden.
That's right. Yeah, got
and
right.
Seton Hall is scratched, and Patino tweeted, "Hey, if you're looking for somebody to play on Saturday at MSG, we're available." Right.
Nice. Yeah. So some other games coming up. I know Northwestern DePaul got canceled. We saw. Did you see this one, Dave? That Montreal, the Canadians, local government was like, no fans tonight.
Oh no, I didn't see that. I know they're going to they're going back to 50% capacity, and you've got issues. Calgary's on hold right now. It's a mess.
Yep.
I'm not going on. I'm not doing the political thing. I don't. Because I don't know. I have no. Apparently, this variant isn't very dangerous. It's contagious as hell,
but
it's not.
Problem.
It's not very dangerous,
right?
And kind of is like the flu. Maybe not even a bad flu. I don't know. maybe we're going a little bit overboard. I know one thing: we can't shut down here.
No.
We got a Super Bowl coming up, and we got an NFL draft that we still have, fortunately, after it got canceled last year.
Yep.
And we can't shut down here. It's that simple. We're completely dependent on the tourist trade. So, I mean, you just got to keep everything open. That's the way it goes.
Yeah, I will say, from a safety standpoint, I think people are getting looser and looser without the mask on. And
well, half the people never wore them right in the first place.
Well, but I think a lot of the anti-maskers in certain venues aren't allowed in because they're also anti-vaxxers. So,
I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I am anti-mandate.
No, I don't even mean mandate. I just mean wearing the cloth that they can't keep it on, and it's just like it ain't that hard to keep on the mask. Just
no, it's some of it's
not
stupid.
talking mandates of when to mask and when not. Right now, with a variant that is highly contagious, I would wear the mask, and I do as much as I can.
Some of it is really dumb, though. The one that's always cracked me up from day one is the restaurant bar.
Yep.
Thing, where you have to wear the mask when you go in,
right?
And then you can take it off for the entire time you're there eating or drinking.
Yep.
And then you have to put it back on when you walk out the door. Now that's stupid. Okay,
stupid,
some of it is really stupid.
Yeah. Well, that was just a way to loosen things so you could open businesses again. So.
Well, I never thought the businesses in those instances should have been closed.
Should have been closed, yeah.
Don't make people go broke. That's kind of important.
Yeah. Kind of feeling the effect of that now, huh? People going broke and losing their businesses, and
well, and we weren't on the small businesses lost chart.
Right.
Actually, we didn't do that badly out here.
Right.
I think last Nevada was like 30th or something out of 50, which, considering how much we're reliant on people visiting Las Vegas, wasn't that terrible. It was really bad in some other states, but we clearly cannot go through anything like that again. So figure out a way to keep everything open and just hope that people are smart. I don't know how much success you're going to have with that, but
I've seen a lot of stupid analogies tied to masking, but
that's
this
pretty good. I like that.
This one is pretty. I'd never thought of that before, but that's the logic of what we're doing. Put the condom on, take it off to have sex, and then put it back on after you're done. So,
yeah, I've swung around on this because when the thing first started, it's like on the mask.
Yeah.
No, the condom thing, I'm past that at this point.
You're like, I'll put it back on. Let me put it back on.
It's not going to matter. I think I'm firing blanks at this point. So
freedom. It finally comes.
Well, but I've kind of shifted my stance on the masking. And, it was pretty scary out there at first.
Yeah.
And the original variant, you got sick. Okay. Nobody wants to catch the flu, even if you think it's just the flu, which it's not. But even if you thought it's just the flu, who wants to get sick? So I thought, okay, well, this isn't a bad idea. Now, enough.
Okay, so is the NFL now overreacting then? If a lot
I think they need to make some changes. I think if you're vaccinated and asymptomatic, I don't think you should be forced to sit out.
Right.
You've done what you can do.
Yep.
If you're unvaccinated, sorry, that's another story. That's your decision, and you're going to have to put up with the daily testing, and that's the way it goes. But if you've done what you can do, which is to get the vaccinations, the booster if necessary, and you're not sick, I think you should be able to play.
I think that was what Baker Mayfield was trying to say.
Yeah, actually, I agree with him.
Case Keenum was trying to say it as well, but unfortunately Baker kind of got a little loose and was misspelling words and getting too emotional. So, but I think that's what he was getting at. That the latest developments and the way they're doing the testing, it's just
and the thing is that this variant, while it's not real severe, is apparently extremely contagious. So you're going to get positive tests out the ass. from people who aren't sick and have gotten vaccinations.
Right.
Got to let them work. Okay,
Yeah.
got to let them go to work.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Stefanski is fully vaccinated, and he got the booster, which is more than I've done so far. And
I got mine last week.
Yeah, you were. Did I ask you this, or were you good? And no side effects.
No, I didn't have any side effects from the very first one. I was a little tired the next day.
Right.
I got no side effects from the second one, and this was nothing. They said, well, you got to stick around 15 minutes. I said, I'm not sticking around 15 minutes. I'm picking up a couple of snack items, and I'm leaving. And I did.
I got to eat. All right. Oh, by the way, where did you go out tonight, or you order in?
No, I went down to Fleming's Town Square tonight. Did my Christmas gift exchange with one of my favorite people there, and had a New York strip with side dishes, and I took home, just to be a real pig, I took home both a piece of cheesecake and key lime pie.
Oh, nice.
So I'm all set for desserts for the next couple of days.
I was gonna say, I thought you said earlier that you were doing the key lime pie, or did you say at the time you were doing both?
No, I was trying to make up my mind, and I just decided, well, the hell with it.
Right.
I'll get both.
It's the old sports pig line. Why choose? Choose both.
Plus, I've got some tiramisu in the fridge.
Look at this.
I'm in really good shape.
Dessert king.
Oh, I do like my desserts.
How long have you done the gift exchange with that person?
About 5 years. This is part of the gift. This is part of the gift package.
I was going to say you're normally. Do you start going? Do you go dark caps all winter?
No. I've never been. I've never quite grasped that concept. I mean, if I want to put on a white T-shirt in the winter, I will do so. So GQ will not put me on the cover. Oh well. Here we go. All right, baby Canucks. Must have been an empty.
Oh, the Canucks. I thought it was a cat.
I don't know whether it was. No, I don't know whether it was an empty net goal or not. I decided when Vancouver dumped their coach and brought in Boudreau, this is going to spark the team. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna get on them and see if I can win a few in a row. 6-0, assuming they hold on to this 2-goal lead with a couple minutes.
We talked about it.
That's a nice run.
Yep.
I did not do it with the Flyers because they didn't bring in a new coach. They just promoted one of the assistants to an interim level, and to me you're not really making a change. You just put somebody else in charge with the clipboard. I loved what Vancouver did, and I'm going to keep playing until they lose 2 in a row, and it's all house money now.
What's your strongest thought on a game this weekend for the bowl games, Friday and Saturday?
2. I think UAB has the rushing defense to keep BYU in check. And getting 7 points is attractive to me. I think that's a close game. Coastal Carolina is really interesting because there's an old trend. Ralph Michaels is the king of these. He's phenomenal. And I think this went back to, I might be wrong on the year. I think it went back to 2004, where a team that lost in a bowl and then goes back to the same bowl the next year, 0-5. And Coastal Carolina lost this bowl last year, but I decided to dismiss it. And that was very much having to do with the quotes that I read from the Coastal Carolina side. It wasn't really a bowl game last year. They didn't go down until like 2 days before the game. Had one practice, played the game, and then came right home. So it was just a regular football game for them. This year, both Northern Illinois and Coastal Carolina arrived on Tuesday. They're doing they're having their regular practices, plus doing all the fun stuff that you do at these bowl games. We know that from the Las Vegas Bowl.
That's good info.
It's part of why the players, even if they're not in the playoff, they still want to get that bowl game experience because it's a lot of fun, and you get to play an extra game. And so the Coastal Carolina kids are really excited about having a chance to win this game. Northern Illinois, boy, I mean, I'll tell you what a season they've had. Hammock, if you're giving me votes for Coach of the Year, he's definitely on my list of guys who they didn't win a game last year, and they were expected to be maybe ahead of Akron and Bowling Green this year, and they won the title. with a transferred quarterback who's really not that good, and he just decided he's an old running back himself. He's kind of put on some pounds since he played, but he's done a great job with this team, and we know what they're going to do against Coastal Carolina. They're going to come out and run the ball, and Coastal's going to have to find a way to stop them. And if they don't, they're going to be in for a long day. But I think Coastal's a more talented team, and I think they're pretty fired up. And Grayson McCall, it's a big game for him. As of now, he has not committed. He's only a redshirt sophomore, and the indications are he's going to come back to school. But it's a weak class of quarterbacks. And if he has a big game, he's going to move up the list. And he could be moving himself into the first round. So, and they've lost 2 games since McCall got there. They lost 2 this year, but he was out for one of them. That was the overtime loss they had to Georgia State. And the other 2 losses, one was last year in the bowl game, and they had a 3-point loss to App State. They're a pretty good team. I know they've played a garbage schedule, but they're really good. And I think Coastal might get him here, but we'll see. It's a lot of points.
I was going to say some good angles. Really good.
There we go. 5-2. I think I'm going to win. I don't like to call a game a winner before it ends because it's like a reverse jinx thing.
Of course.
But it's 5-2 with 30 seconds to go, so I think I'm safe.
Well aware of the reverse jinx.
Oh, yeah.
Updates on the national title, the Final Four lines. Alabama, there is a 14 out there against Cincinnati, and Georgia's actually up to 8.5 now against Michigan. Is there a point?
I think Michigan might give them a game.
Yeah.
They're really playing. They're really playing well.
Are you going to wait, or would you play them plus 8.5 right now?
No, I'm going to wait. I think the bettors are going to. If there comes a point where I see buyback, then I might get them. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm not necessarily going to play either favorite. I don't think I'm going to play either dog, but I'm not totally convinced that Georgia's just going to wipe the floor with Michigan. That team's playing really well. Hey, look, that's a very good Ohio State team. They beat the crap out of them. So Harbaugh, last year at this time, it's fire Harbaugh. That kind of died down.
Yeah, seriously.
That number. Michigan, by the way, I think Michigan has a little chip on its shoulder.
Yep.
Because they think, and they're saying it, they think they should have been the top seed. Why not? They won their conference championship. Georgia didn't. So how come they beat Ohio State in that title game? So how come they're not number 1? And you know what? If Harbaugh can sell his team on that, that's going to be a really motivated squad that takes the field against Georgia. And Georgia is off a loss. They're human after all.
Yep. And Stetson Bennett is very human if they play him again. So
I don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah.
I don't know what they're going to do. Daniels is more mistake prone, but he's also capable of doing more than the game manager. I think I don't know. I have no idea what Kirby's going to do there.
Steve, former resident, we appreciate it. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. So we do the podcast every Wednesday and Thursday. It's a little late your time, but appreciate it. Thanks for checking in. One last, I think the answer to this is easy. If we kind of go back to where we started, right, Dave? Talking about odds and the right thing to do and analytics. So I told you I have Western Michigan plus 6.5. They're now -6. I have to play both sides, right, and go for the middle.
Yeah, I would. Why not?
Don't be stupid.
I mean, it's just such a big. Now you might want to keep a little more on one side,
right?
Probably the Western Michigan side, since that's really the value.
Right.
But yeah, you got to at least throw half your bet back on the other side because that's an enormous middle. It's kind of like last year, and it really worked out for me. The Pittsburgh-Miami game last year, where I knew I'd gotten good information that Pickett wasn't going to play.
Oh wow.
For Pittsburgh, and I knew the line was going to go crazy, and so I ended up, I think, with +4 on both sides in their game with Miami, and it won. Nice. That was sweet. My clients were very happy with me that week.
Yes.
Because that's 4 units on each side. 8-unit pickup on one game is pretty good.
That's it's a big part of the bowl season now is getting that information. If you get a good snitch.
It was better in the old days though,
because
the stuff wasn't widely available, and depending on where you lived, you could in college basketball there were middles to play every single night. Every night.
Yeah.
You'd have 3 and 4 point middles. And I still remember a game, a night. I'm sitting with Rick Stone, who was a good friend of mine, and we had 3 middles working and hit them all in one night.
Ah, that's sweet.
For pretty good money too,
Yeah.
because we were betting, and this is back in the '70s. We were betting dimes,
Nice.
so we had about a $6,000 win that night. And
Cool.
yeah, I think we spent most of it on booze and broads, but it was worth it.
Dave. Old school Dave will always come out. Booze and broads. Lovely. Nothing else has moved. No, I mean, in terms of information, nothing else has come up. That's
No, I'm still waiting. I'm still monitoring the opt-out list every day, and now we're going to have to also monitor the COVID list every day. So I'm still not playing. I played the 2 Saturday games. I'll probably play San Diego State. I'm not going to get the +3, but I'll take them anyway in all likelihood. And I'm just waiting on the others. I don't want to get caught playing a game and then being stuck with no way to buy out of it.
right.
If somebody decides they're not going to play or get sick, because it's inevitable.
Oh, of course it's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yep.
And there's going to be some named players who end up not playing in their bowl games because they test positive a day before or something like that. This is just the nature of the beast. I'm not playing. I'm playing Vancouver every game now, regardless. They were missing 4 guys tonight, which worried me, but it didn't matter because I'd already won 5 bets with them. But I mean, the Bruins tonight, I should have made the bet. 2/3 of their perfection line was out, and it's the only good line they've got, and they got shut out. You got to wait and find out the lineup info before you play. So it might cost you some value, but you just don't want to get stuck. In baseball, you can list pitchers at most books. So if something happens, well, okay, you can, but you can't list goalies in the NHL or anything else. So, if your goalie's out, you're stuck. And that's so I'll just wait. My games will go out later. And in college basketball, I guess I'll just check every day to see which games get canceled because it's going to be a daily thing now.
Yeah, I think college basketball getting information on who may miss a game for COVID is going to be impossible because I think a lot of coaches are going to keep that real close to the vest. Yep. It'll be game time decision type things, and you will literally find out that someone's not freaking suited up. Maybe you'll find out a half an hour before, but you may not find out until like 10
I lost the game the other night at Houston.
Yep.
As a big favorite against the team that they can dominate, and there was no information on this. Half an hour before the game, 3 guys aren't playing.
Oh, man.
And they got out to a big lead. I think they were up 19 at the half, and they lost the second half. Probably because they were short-staffed and also had a gigantic lead. And that bet went up in smoke. So this is just do the best you can in terms of gathering information. And this is why you follow people on Twitter.
Right. We never answered earlier. Eagles -9, 9.5. I don't know if you're firing on the game, but I think I would still take football team.
Washington's almost out of players, aren't they? Who are they playing at quarterback? What's his name? Allen?
He's on the COVID list.
So they're down to a 3rd stringer as well. Plus the wide receiver, he got a concussion, so he's not going to play. They got a bunch of defensive guys out. Chase Young's out for the year. And I think they kind of ran out of gas last week. A valiant comeback. The flip side of that is we don't know if Jalen Hurts is playing. And Gardner Minshew was very good last week. If you followed Gardner Minshew, consistency is not his forte. I'm not laying that many points.
Right.
You want to do it? Go ahead. But I'm probably going to be keeping it small this weekend, which I usually do in the NFL anyway. I'm like 2 games. And that's why people ask me, why don't you enter the contest? It's like, are you kidding? I don't think I've bet 5 games in an NFL week in 30 years.
Just
the league is not that easy for me. I'm 2 or 3 games tops. And so I have no chance in a 5-game picking 5. I mean, may as well be picking games out of a hat.
Yeah, it's friggin' hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is hard. All right, Dave, we can wrap it up. It was a good show. Good show. Appreciate it. We'll talk to Dave back on Monday. What do you got going on this weekend? WagerTalk.com is where you can get Dave's stuff. What else is going on?
just watching a bunch of games and see if I can stretch this Vancouver streak out a little more
There you
because
go.
it's looking pretty good right now.
See you, Dave.